Well, welcome back to I Am Nylis. I'd like to welcome all the newer listeners that are coming on board. That's great that we're getting out there and have a reach, and that anybody wants to actually listen to what I have to say. That's awesome. Not trying to be a comedian, but I am a funny guy. So anyway, in this episode, we're going to be covering some different things that have happened over the past week or so. I want to talk a little bit about some experiences that I had this weekend, and did the driving quite a bit this weekend on the gig economy, doing Lyft and Uber. I do want to talk a little bit about some things that happened. I'll talk about that in one of the segments. And it brought about some other ideas and thoughts, and that'll be a different segment. It might be a newer segment that I haven't tried yet. So we'll delve all into that and get going here in a minute. I'd like to put out a shameless plug, of course, for one of our sponsors, us-specialties.com. They sell caps, flags, things like this. Do a great job, and you really should check out their shop and see what they got. You might be interested. And also, not to forget, we have a Facebook page, facebook.com/IamNylis. Of course, Nylis is spelled Nylis, and you can reach us on there and communicate with us. We will be checking into, I'll be checking into getting a Twitter account set up for this. I haven't done it yet, but I will soon. I do have one, just in case someone wanted to send something, but I'll try to set up one specifically for this, so that we can communicate that way as well. So after the break, we'll be back with our first segment, the one this is named after. I Am Nylis. Be right back.
Every day, we have the ability and opportunity to create a more accepting world by actively coming together and living inclusively. Even small acts of inclusion can have a big impact and make others feel loved and accepted. Because most people don't see themselves as part of the problem, they don't recognize that they can be part of the solution. Before anything else, we're all human. Start a conversation and create a deeper connections. Consider whose voices are and are not represented. Use inclusive, appropriate, and respectful language. As my grandmother used to say, respect those, and they'll respect you. Learn how you can come together at lovehasnolabels.com. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everyone. This is our segment, what the podcast is named after. I Am Nylis. Nylis, of course, is spelled Nylis. And I would like to start off to remind everybody again, one more time, that we have a Facebook page. Please like our Facebook page, and also you can message us through Facebook Messenger at facebook.com/IamNylis, all one word. So, some things that I want to cover in this segment primarily is to talk about the fact that I'm not going to talk about it directly. I'm not going to talk about politics and religion in a partisan way. I don't want this to become a political podcast. I don't want it to become a religious podcast. I've mentioned this before. I just want to be able to talk about issues that in general affect all of us. I just want it to be a general discussion. If I talk about something, it's because it's an issue that needs to be talked about the people, and I'm not going to make it a partisan in any way, shape, or form, whether left or right, because I feel that that detracts from what's happening if I'm talking about an issue. So I'm going to make every effort, and call me out if I lean one way or the other too far, or you think I am. Let's have a discussion about it, because that's not what I'm trying to do. But you can definitely provide me some feedback on that if it seems like I'm doing it. So into something that has been going on lately. I've been seeing I'm out there driving part-time in the gig economy and doing stuff like that, and I don't want to get too deep into that, but I do see a lot of things happening, and people seem to not how do I want to put this, they don't care about what they do and what other people's reactions would be when it comes to if they want to voice their self with whether it's political or religious or whatever. They just blurt stuff out without thinking about what they're saying. And I think I talked about this before, where a lot of times you have to think a little bit before. The old adage of, engage brain before engaging mouth. Because what you say, and especially on this new medium called social media and the new age of internet, once it's out there, it's out there. And you can try to pull it back, you can try to delete it, you can try to do whatever you want to, and unless you're super high up in the powers that be, you probably can't get rid of most of it. Because once it's out there, look at our celebrities, they're talking, saying things, and then later they're retracting or saying something different, and then they're getting called out. People are saying, see, you said this back in 1982, you were talking this way. Or back in 1997, you said this, and, you obviously were that way before, and now you're this way. Be very careful what you say and do out there in social media. I try to be careful about it, and if I say something in one direction, if that's the way I feel, that's the way I feel. But everybody does have the right to change their mind. Some people change their mind for the better. Some people may change their mind in the wrong direction. But that's your prerogative. But just be careful what you put out there and how you put it. I try to, but sometimes I may accidentally lean one direction or the other, but hopefully on this podcast I won't do that. So that's pretty much what was on my mind about that. I just can't believe all the things that you see, read, and write, and everything out there of people saying one thing, and then years later, or maybe they don't think that people recorded stuff back then and that they got recorded saying certain things, or they don't remember what they said back then, and then they say something different. That's why you just have to speak the truth, or and say what you mean and what you feel is fine. But if you change it and someone says, hey, you said this before, own up to it, I guess. Okay, I did feel that way, and this and this happened, it changed my mind. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think if you were on the left and determined that you didn't want to be on that side, and you slide to the middle and You may even slide a little bit to the right and someone calls you out on it, family member or whatever. Don't, just tell it like it is and how you feel about it. Anyway, again, I want to throw another plug in there for usspecialties.com, us-specialties.com, one of our sponsors, and we'll be back after the break and roll into another segment. So we'll see you in a bit. Well, welcome back. Welcome back to I Am Nylis. And we are on Facebook, facebook.com/I Am Nylis. Nylis spelled Nylis. So we're going to roll into the segment Gig Economy. And this show we're going to talk about Uber a little bit. I was doing a lot of Uber this weekend, and there's a few things that are coming up with Uber. By the time you hear this, the IPO might have happened by now, and I just want to put out there, as I said with Lyft too, I wanted to talk a little bit about Uber's IPO. Those of us that drive, and most of the little guys, it's not wise, and this is just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor, but it's my opinion that us little guys should stay away from these IPOs, from all these gig economy places. We should be staying away from that for now. The dust has to settle before we should ever even think about trying to get into there. Just because the rocky start that Lyft had, not to say Uber's going to be the same, but I was talking with a couple people that are financial advisors and are financial people, and they totally agreed with me when I said, people should not rush out there and try to grab those stocks right away. I mean, if you were going to put it in your portfolio or whatever for a very long term and not care if it goes up or down for the next 10 years, then yeah, sure, you could be eligible to get in on the ground floor. But anyway, so yeah, IPO, I personally recommend to stay away for now, and jump in at a later date once it gets settled down. That should be happening this week too. I thought it was going to happen today on Monday the 6th, but not sure about the date. Anyway, rolling into some other Uber topics. Uber's tested in several markets a new, like Uber X, Uber XL, Uber Select. They tested Comfort, or have been, in other markets, but they didn't really talk about it much. Now they've rolled it out in our closest market, Omaha. They've rolled it out there to basically, from what we were told, is that they're trying to try out price points and know in 6 different cities throughout the nation, they're trying to figure out the price points, where it would be good and how much to charge for that thing. It is interesting though, because it's not Uber X. You have to have a higher end vehicle, a nicer vehicle, newer vehicle, and the driver is what they told us. The driver has to have a high enough rating. They didn't tell us what the low rating was, but those of us in the 495 or better that had a vehicle that would have been on the list were able to drive that Comfort rides. And they also told us only like 15% of the riders and 15% of the drivers would even be offered those things that do qualify. Like the drivers that do qualify, only 15% of them would have gotten Comfort. But I don't know, we saw a high percentage, I think. So yeah, that was interesting. It could be a little bit more profitable ride, but there again, customers will be customers and people will be people. So I had a person that, persons. I had 4 people and 6 huge bags of luggage, And instead of ordering an XL, they ordered a Comfort. Well, that's not comfortable when there's 4 people plus bags packed around them like sardines. And I got a pretty good sized minivan. I mean, the Chrysler Pacifica is a nice sized minivan and has lots of room. And we got it in there just fine, and they were sitting just fine. But it's an XL, folks, not a Comfort. But people will be people. Like I said, they will go out there and they will try to do things to save a buck here or there. Can't blame them in that respect that they're trying to save money, but when they do it with a lack of common sense, then that just irritates the heck out of me. But yeah, that's my take on that Uber Comfort, because that was it was good, but it also had a lot of issues with it that I doubt they'll fix. It's just going to be that way if they ever roll it out. And I'm glad that they don't have Uber Pool or one of those shared ride services. Lyft doesn't have a shared ride service in this Midwest market much at all, in the Iowa or Nebraska or South Dakota market. So those pool rides and those kind of things, those are not that great. They are great if you're trying to get a lot of rides racked up, because if you have 3 people that come and go out of that ride, instead of having just one ride from point A to point B, you got point A to B to C to D to E to F, and then eventually you drop off that last person in one ride segment, and you've just gotten 3 or 4 credits for riders, even though you're on technically one ride. You only get paid for the time and distance of the one ride, even though you're stopping and going here and there. You're getting paid for your time, but just happy it's not in our market right now. So yeah, I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and there's a couple other topics, but I'm going to roll that out in a second part, and we'll take a break now, and don't forget to listen to some of these ads if they get placed in the middle. If they don't get placed in the middle, go check out our primary sponsor, us-specialties.com, and see what they have to offer. And don't forget, we have the Facebook page at facebook.com/IamNylis, and soon to have Twitter. We'll be back after a break. Welcome back. This is segment we're on of I Am Nylis is the gig economy, and we're talking today about Uber, and we're talking about their new tests they're doing with Uber Comfort and the IPO and everything in that direction. But I'd like to move on to another piece of Uber that happened this weekend. I mentioned my podcast to some of the riders. Just as a test, I was doing my own test to see how riders would react, and they were a bunch of millennials and early younger millennials, and they were real interested. What are you doing, and all this kind of stuff. So I may or may not do this in the future, but I'm just in case you're listening, my riders from then, I'll give a shout out to Bailey, who said I should mention her on the podcast, so I will. Bailey, you're now officially mentioned as a rider of mine on my podcast. So anyway, going back to the riders and testing and stuff like that, it's kind of interesting to hear what people have to say. And at some point in time in one of these gig economy segments, I would like to talk with, I am going to talk with some other drivers, and at some time I may get a passenger to chime in once in a while, and if there's a topic that I feel that we need that side of the view of what's going on. But I'm not going to do a lot of interviews in this podcast, but I never know. It may morph into some interviews once in a while. We'll just have to see how that all goes. But the test went kind of well. People seem to be receptive. I doubt they'll remember the podcast or go back and sign up or listen. But it is something. It's all about marketing today, so And driving Uber and Lyft is a good way to mention it to people and get things out there, because everything we can do to get our name out there and for people to listen is awesome. So back to Uber and some of the things going on this weekend. The amount of things that a driver sees can be phenomenal. People talk about police and rescue workers and other professions, or whether you could also talk about bartenders, and bartenders see a lot, and boy, if some of them wrote some books, it'd be quite huge in the number of stories they can tell about things happening. And I'm going to talk about this one instance, and just some people do the weirdest things at the weirdest times. And I did not see it directly, but it was posted on a Omaha Uber and Lyft site that someone took some pictures of something happening right in the heart of Old Market. In the middle of everything, there was a man and a woman deciding to express themselves to each other, and obviously for all to see. It was quite interesting that people do that kind of stuff, and nowadays, and that the fact that they didn't get arrested for public indecency and anything else, I'm really surprised if that didn't happen. But out driving, when you're out there driving and you're driving around, you're going to see just tons of stuff if you ever decide to do this. It's interesting. There's a lot of things you have to deal with. And to tell you the truth, if you're going to drive in the gig economy like Lyft and Uber or one of the others that are springing up all over the nation, you have to remember there's a couple things you have to remember. You have to have thick skin. You have to be ready to take some shit. And sorry, I'm not going to try to cuss in this channel, but you just have to be able to take it. And you also have to be able to sometimes dish it out. But you have to remember that being a service business, people expect to be treated like kings. And if you can't deal with that sometimes, or people are just, being all queen-like out there, and you need to remember that maybe this isn't for you if you can't be around people and deal with that kind of stuff. So before you decide that you want to go out there and just drive and you're going to make tons of money, and there's a lot more to it than that. And anybody that's thinking about doing it, sure, you could sign up and you can try it out and you can go see what it's all about. There's absolutely no problem with that. But just remember, don't be all upset and go crying on social media that this is the most terrible thing in the world, because some of us, we do it because we want to earn money. We want to be out there and meet people and stuff like that, and take everything with a grain of salt, and just have the ability to digest that kind of stuff. So, okay, it's time to move on to the next segment, and we'll be back after the break. Just remember our primary sponsor, us-specialties.com. That would be great if you'd check them out. And we'll be back after this. Well, welcome back, everyone. You're back here with I Am Nylis, and I am Nylis. So let's move on to a new segment that I'm going to call Don't Do Stupid. I know that's kind of like the name of the show. It's just one of those weird sayings, weird things, but believe it or not, people do. And this weekend I had the experience, and I don't know if it's still on my dash cam, because I have a dash cam and it rolls through and cycles through, and it takes about 14 hours or so of solid driving time to roll through. But It's probably not on there anymore. Oh, darn. Anyway, I could have had a video to go with this. People have a tendency to do stupid stuff, and they know it's stupid, and they still do it. If you do something stupid and you just plain made a mistake, and you did something stupid and you just own up to it, say, man, that was stupid, I should never have done that, and you'd never do it again, then you've learned from that experience and you move on. I mean, that's just normal human nature. But no, some people have a tendency to do stupid stuff knowing that it's stupid. So that's why I call this Don't Do Stupid. So let's get to what caused all this. I'm driving with a passenger, and we're driving along, and in front of us, we notice this SUV is swerving a little bit here and there. And the guy goes, and he's had a few to drink, and he goes, wow, that guy in front of us really, he should take a Lyft or something, or an Uber, and not be driving. That's why I took a Lyft and Uber, because I know I shouldn't be driving. So we're talking about this person that's swerving, and all of a sudden we jump because we're like, oh my gosh, he's going to crash. And the road we were driving on, this city street is a little farther rural outside, and there was some ditches, a little bit of a ditch, and then you have driveways with people's mailbox and stuff before we got to a more urban area. And this person swerved, almost went in the ditch, almost hit the mailbox, swerved back over into the opposite lane a little bit, and got back on the road again. And we're just like, man, this person almost needs to be called in, or we need to get this person off the road. And we pull up to the stoplight. There's a more urban area and a big old stoplight and a nice big road. And I pull up alongside, and sure enough, it's a 20-something or younger female, and she is sitting at that stoplight still on her phone texting. So she was texting and knew it was wrong to text like that, almost has an accident, almost loses control of her car, and something is so important that she's texting that she's still texting and looking down. And as we pulled away from the stoplight together, she was still looking down. I accelerated a bit to get out ahead of her because I was just scared. And we come down to a next stoplight, and I thought she was going to run right into the back of us and didn't even see me. It was stupid of me to pull in front of her. You know, I should have just stayed behind her so I could video what she was doing in case she did have an accident or hit somebody. But that's just stupid. That's doing stupid stuff when you know it's stupid from the start, or illegal, or whatever the case may be. So people out there, you just need to not do stupid, please. Everybody's looked at a text message, got something, thought it was important, glanced at it or whatever, and it's wrong. We all know it. And we do that, and it's stupid. But this was beyond that. This was someone just texting their life story while they were driving and looking up periodically just to make sure they were still on the road and they hadn't hit anything. That's basically what they were doing, this person. So everybody out there, just try not to do stupid. Just stay away, and you know, if you do it by accident, that's fine. You do something stupid, but don't do it over and over and over again if you know it's stupid. So the next time I see someone do that, then I'll try to capture the video this time. Maybe I can even on the Facebook post a video like that of stupid someone doing something stupid. But we'll see. I don't know if I'll post anything like that. I never post videos from my dash cam, and I only pull them off for emergencies when something happened, or I'm afraid that someone's going to try to claim I did something or something through Lyft or Uber. Then I grab that. But anyway, I was thinking back if there was anything other major major item this weekend, and there are a few, but I may leave those for future topics. So with this segment, I'll wrap this segment up, and we'll be back after the break. Welcome back, everyone, and this is I Am Nylis, and I would like to wrap up our conversation today a little bit. We talked about gig economy and Uber, and a little bit about what's going on there with the IPO and some other things, and we talked about a new segment, Don't Do Stupid, and some things that people do, and we also talked about, I talked about in the segment I Am Nylis, some things on my mind, and that's what this podcast is all about, is to get some thoughts and ideas out there, and also talked about how I'm not going to try to make this political and directly, and also not be a religious broadcast or anything like that. I can always do another podcast on that kind of stuff, but I want to try to keep this to getting some of my thoughts across to people, and getting out there and hearing from other people. This is another thing. If you've listened this far, then you might be interested in hearing certain things, or talking about certain things or topics, or you have an interesting topic you want me to talk about and hear my thoughts on that. Need to get out there to the Facebook page, facebook.com/IamNylis, or get out there to eventually to Twitter when I get out there, or on the podcasts themselves. You can, if you're using Anchor or using any of the other podcast things there, you can probably reach out through there to me. I also have I didn't mention it this whole podcast, oh my gosh, my email address is info@IamNylis.com. Nylis spelled Nylis, of course. And you can reach out to me and let me know what you think. If there's anything that we need, that I should be talking about, or you think I should be talking about, anything you're interested in knowing about certain things. I mean, I'm not the wisest guy on the planet, but I do have my point of view on many things. So if you want to communicate that to me, please do. I really appreciate any constructive feedback to any of this. And my gosh, if you have listened to all three, this is episode number 3. So if you've listened to all 3 episodes, I thank you immensely. And we'll be moving on. And I am trying to do this once a week, but there's just so much material. Sometimes I think I should do it almost Monday through Friday. But in order to keep my sanity, I'll try this once a week, or possibly maybe 2 times a week. If things come up, I may pop in there a little before. Wednesday is going to be a normal publication of the podcast on its weekly basis, and alternate episodes will come out at different times if I decide that there's something that we need to talk about, like something that happened over the weekend. Like this past weekend has just been massive, and there was just lots going on. I could do a second one, and I might go ahead and release this on Monday and bring something out on Wednesday again, with more information and more stuff that went on that I feel is interesting material to talk about. I'm also trying to keep these down around the 30-minute level, not too long, that you can listen to in a short commute, and you don't have to sit there for a whole hour and listen. Goodness knows, if you're listening this far, you know that I can talk, so I could talk about a lot of stuff and carry this on and make it into easily an hour show, but I'm trying to keep it down around 30 minutes. So some of these will be a little bit shorter, some will be a little bit longer, and we'll just go from there and see how we're progressing. So thank you, everyone. I thank every single one of you that has listened up to this point. And if you're just joining the show and this is your first episode to listen to, go back and listen to the other couple and let me know what you think of them. And we'll see you all later. And this is I Am Nylis. And we're on Facebook at facebook.com/IamNylis and email at info@IamNylis.com. Nylis, of course, is spelled Nylis. And don't forget one of our main sponsors, us-specialties.com. And go check them out and see all their good products they have. And thank you, everyone. And signing off for now. Have a good day.